Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We have Jules, Robbo and Shaka. Actually, before we get into the questions, I just wanted to bring up, because we've been talking about Mbappe and Neymar and everything that's going on in PSG at the moment. After the Ghana game, Brazil's game against Ghana, Neymar was asked in the mix zone, what's your relationship like with Mbappe? And then he's kind of like, I don't understand, sorry, what? And they're like, but Mbappe, what's your relationship like? And he goes, with Kylian, whew, I don't understand, I don't understand. I wonder if you saw that, Jules, and what you made of it.
He's a stirrer, goodness me.
Yeah, so, I mean, he said, what, me and Kylian? And then he just went like, he almost rolled his eyes and just left without even saying anything. You know, I think that's a good summary of where they are right now. And you remember when Mbappe tried to say before the Juventus game, well, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot between them. So sometimes they're really close and sometimes they're not so close. I think it's fair to say that right now it's pretty cold.
Rama.
Who do you think gets on? Who do you think gets on better, Neymar and Mbappe or Gab and Jules?
Gab and Jules for sure. Me and
Gab. I thought you'd roll your eyes, Jules. You just like Neymar did.
To be fair, Jules has more holidays than Neymar.
Yeah, true.
No, he's on those holidays with Neymar, going to all the parties, isn't he? Anyway, when you played and had a bad run of form, did the constant negativity from fans, media, and even your own coaches affect how you played? What was the best strategy to not let the negativity affect you, Shaka?
Go back to absolute basics. I mean, and it was very different back in all day, obviously without social media. You just had to avoid the tabloids and the back pages, so it was easier in that respect. But in terms of getting your form back, just do the very simple things. And the old cliche, let your first pass for all three players be a 5-yard pass. Make sure and just connect that and just build slowly from there. Don't try anything extravagant off the bat.
Back to basics, Robbo.
Yeah, work harder. Make sure you get your in my day, get more tackles in, run harder, run faster, and then your form would come back. You know, because the crowd would get behind you. They'd see you giving 100%, and they'd get behind you. You'd play better. You get your confidence back, and then you'd be a good player again. That's how you have to do it. Work harder.
Jules, what do you think is next for Didier Deschamps after the World Cup? Does he stay on with France, take time off, or go back into club management after the season? If it is the latter, where would you like to see him go?
It's a really good question. We know that kind of had some discussions already with the federation, and we know how close he is to the head of the French FA, Noël Le Graët, who he's under pressure himself and in big trouble. I think a lot will depend on how the World Cup goes. If it's a successful World Cup, so let's say they go really far or even win it, I think he will be tempted to stay until the Euros in Germany in 2024 because, well, I mean, one, the dynamic and the momentum will be amazing, and two, because the next generation, and we saw Badiashile and Fofana and Saliba again on Thursday night doing really well with the national team, so he knows that the next one coming, the next generation, is so good that he should keep winning really, or still being really good, and that could tempt him to stay. And I think if he wants to stay and if the World Cup is good, the federation will keep him anyway. If the World Cup doesn't go well, then I think they're not going to renew his contract, so his contract will finish in December of this year, and then after that I think he might take a bit of time off, and then I don't know if he will go back to club level. You know, the pressure is so different. Let's not forget that, he's been with the national team since 2012 now. This is a very long time. It's 10 years and potentially even 12 if he goes up to Euro 2024. And after that, I don't know if he can go back to club level, daily pressure, daily expectations in a way. So I don't know if he would want that, but I think there will be club after him for sure if he decides to go back to club level. I'm just not too convinced that that's the path he will take.
And most importantly, he's keeping Mbappe happy, Jules.
It's always the key anyway. It's not always the key, but he's France's best player anyway. So at PSG, you can argue that, okay, you want to be happy, but we have Neymar, we have Messi. you might not be the best one here. With the national team, he's the best and by far. So in a way, you have a happy Mbappe will mean France doing well. There's no question, and I think Deschamps knows that. And I think it's pretty clear for everybody within the squad, within the staff, within the environment of the national team, even with us covering the national team, it's pretty clear. So it's a different dynamic, but for Deschamps, for sure, his relationship and Kylian's happiness is very important for the way the team is doing.
Now, Robbo, I know that you're keen on seeing Spain in this World Cup. You think they could cause a few problems, but we've had a question here saying, why are people sleeping on Uruguay this World Cup? They have a great team with Araujo, Valverde, Núñez, Bentancur, Jimenez, and old guards like Godin, Suarez and Cavani, among others.
Yes, they can be a very good side, but if you look at their results, they haven't always beaten the best sides. I think sometimes they can be too negative, so they won't go and attack the opposition. I hope they are a good side at the World Cup because they're always good to watch. They're always got great support. And when we were in Brazil, following Uruguay was one of the best experiences. So let's hope they have a good World Cup. But I still don't think they're going to get anywhere past maybe the last 16.
For Shaka.
They lost to Iran today.
Yes, they lost to Iran today. Yeah. For Shaka, does Portugal exist?
All right. I missed out some data for my top 10. I admit as much. Portugal were 11th for my top 10.
He had a bad holiday once when he went to Portugal. That's why he didn't put them in the group.
What have you got against?
I've never been to Portugal.
Well, there you go. That's just proof that you've got something against them.
That's right. I've never been to Portugal. If I got a free trip to Portugal, they would be in my top 5.
Just in case anything. Hang on a minute.
For the tourism office to invite you.
Are you trying to become an influencer?
I've left that to Dan. I've left being an influencer to Dan. I can't do Dan.
What does Dan try and influence then?
I can't out-influence Dan.
What does Dan try and influence then?
Oh, goodness. Dan got some free suits and posted himself on Instagram.
See what you're missing on social media, Stewart. There was some wonderful poses from Dan.
Too big for him. I bet they were miles too big for him.
Let me tell you something. It was cringeworthy to cry for. That's as good as I could describe it.
Oh dear. All I can remember, he came on a show, a La Liga show, with that orange shirt on. It was the worst shirt I think I've ever seen on ESPN FC.
Oh, you need to see his new stuff. He's got his name inside it also.
Oh yeah, he's got his name inside his suits now. He even asked Shaka to peel a grape for him the other day.
Okay. Let me tell you something. Oh God.
Yeah.
Please no.
Yeah, I have to clean this seat after I've been on it and everything. You wouldn't believe it. All right, Shaka. I am wondering how some teams from outside the top 5 European leagues get into your power rankings, when in reality, a team in the top 5 with poorer results can beat them easily. Which factor weighs more, team form or the league it's playing?
Well, as we now know which countries are visited. Who decides to extend a free trip, that's very key to my rankings.
Times the algorithm equals.
Exactly. Listen, especially early on in the season, I like to, you know, give some love to these teams that won't be there later on. So especially if a smaller team in a smaller league starts well, I'm going to put them in because I know come January, February, they're not going to be there.
All right. I mean, you actually had a huge agreement tonight on one of your power rankings, which may be a first, right?
I think it's a good time to retire now from all rankings.
No, don't try and get away from the power rankings.
It's the first time anybody's agreed with my rankings.
Yes.
Let alone 2 people at the same time.
So now you can set. Now this is the start of a good run of form.
No, that was quit.
No, it's the perfect time. Let's keep going with Shaka's power rankings. He loves doing them. He puts so much effort into them.
Let's see what free trips I get out of.
Yeah, calling on the Portuguese tourist pod. Go on, Robbo.
Let me tell you, he's got the nicest people to actually judge his power rankings. I'm not going to give him any stick. Jules isn't going to give him any stick.
Not Jules. Oh, Jules. Jules gets all angry. these guys are like so funny.
All right, question for Jules. Does Jules think Dembele could break into France's starting 11 for the World Cup?
No, unless the system changes. The system as it is right now is not made for Ousmane Dembele, as good as he is with Barcelona, and I think as important as he is in that French squad, because he's got a lot of talent, of course, but also a lot of friends within that squad. But right now, the way France are playing with the back three and Griezmann as a 10, really behind the two strikers who will be Benzema and Mbappe, or were Giroud and Mbappe on Thursday night against Austria, there's no room for Dembele. For Dembele, you kind of have to change the system, and maybe you can play with sort of two attacking players behind a striker, and in that case, then maybe, yeah, you play Kylian a bit deeper and Ousmane a bit deeper. Ousmane used to play centrally. He used to be a 10, really, before becoming a winger, because he had so much space, and so many skills that he was also made to be a very good winger. But I think he can play a bit more centrally. But right now, in Deschamps' mind, there's not a space in that formation, in that system, that really naturally fit Ousmane Dembele, unfortunately.
Just before we do go, Robbo brought this up and made the comparison of Gab and Jules being the Neymar and Mbappe of podcasting. You are one of the stand-ins quite often, Robbo. Which of the two do you prefer working with?
Oh.
Listen, when I work with Gab,
you're kind of like Messi here. You're kind of like Messi here, no, Robbo.
First of all, you have to have the questions given to you the night before. Well, Gab never does that, so he's got me on. He catches me on the hop when I get in and says, "Oh, we're going to talk about some story I've never heard of." Whereas Jules is very nice. He texts me the night before. I sit up all night watching all the videos, and I get into the studio, so we know what we're going to talk about. And when I'm with Jules, I actually get a chance to speak. When I'm with Gab, I'm just a stooge, really. I'm just there. So make your own mind up.
You know what? So what the answer would have been for Robbo is, how's your relationship with Marcotti? And he'd go, Gabriele.
Nah,
and just leave the mix out.
Don't speak English. My English is not so
I just wind him up by calling him Gabrielle. That winds him up enough.
Yeah, don't do that. Or just get your steak well done. That'll really wind him up. Anyway, that's all we've got time for.
Order steak well done. Just order steak well done delivered.
Thanks so much for your questions. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.